Hey guys, welcome to another episode of View from the Cheap Seats, our look at the week in sports, and of course, the week in sports.
W-E-A-K.
The weekest stuff that happened in the world of sports. Plus, our Patreon fans, we have a fantastic video that we're going to break down with our guests. Join our Patreon. It's simple.
Maybe the most epic martial arts video breakdown that I've ever
evolution of all the martial arts stuff we've looked at. We don't know. We'll do that with our guest. He played in the NHL, played for 3 teams, played for the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Vancouver Canucks, and now he's doing analysis of the NHL
for TSN.
That's like
Sports
doing
Center in Canada.
On the highest level. Frank Corrado, he's unbelievable. We had him on Rome's show, and he's just a great interview and a great guy. So very excited to get into the hockey discussion with him as we are. You know, he had
on the precipice of the Stanley Cup finals.
And he'll give us his prediction and why. He'll tell us. He'll make the case for why we should get excited if it's a Florida Panther.
And why sports fans love and support hockey teams even in warm weather cities. He puts us in our place.
He gets it right, and we're going to talk to him about all that stuff. And then later on the show, I mean, the Vegas Golden Knights are knocking on the door. I feel like, look, they're about ready to join the Florida Panthers. And in the Stanley Cup finals, I want to hear what Nick Cage is going to do. If Nick Cage got the cup for one day, I want to hear what he would do with the Stanley Cup because, you know, you can pass it around. I think John Hamm had the Stanley Cup for
a day. A couple hours one day.
A couple hours one day. So if Nick Cage got the Stanley Cup, what would he do with it? We're going to find out later on the show. But first, let's talk about the greatest story in sports to date of the year. Jay and I are on a plane. We're flying from Minneapolis to Alaska. The 4th on Sunday, which was the final day.
Final round of the PGA Championships, which one could argue, I mean, yes, it's part of the majors.
Yeah, it's one of the 4 majors. PGA, British Open, US Open, Masters. And it is the PGA Championship, to me, is just, you've seen some of the greatest performances of all time at the PGA. And look, Brooks Koepka ran away with it. And this is after, you know, you watched, he had tremendous injuries. It looked like he was never going to lose a major ever again. Then he had like the weird knee injury. He couldn't bend down. He had back injuries and stuff. And you watched him on the Full Swing documentary on Netflix, and it looked like he had lost his mojo. You know, he couldn't. It just looked like he couldn't win. It showed you what that series showed me is how mental golf is.
Yep.
He runs away with it, and then afterwards he makes the comments of like, this is why Live Golf is great. Go kill another journalist or whatever he said. And I'm like, come on, bro. But whatever. He wins. I was actually kind of happy for him until he opened his mouth. So I was happy that he made it back.
And he had another comment where he was like, look, 50% of the guys on this tour, I know I'm already going to beat. So how many are there? 150 people in the tournament?
75.
So now we're down to 75. Out of those 75, half of those dudes are going to have a bad week. So I'm going to be better than those guys. So now I'm talking 35.
What if you have a bad week?
But this is his thing, the cockiness. Now I have 35 guys.
This is what he needs to do to get his mojo back. He's got to be a cocky guy who walks around so slowly. He walks so slowly.
But he was overshadowed this week by club professional. So there's a golf club professional,
29,000 total club professionals. There are only 200 people on the PGA Tour. But 20 of those club professionals out of the 29,000 get an invite to play in the PGA. It's like the greatest honor ever, PGA Championship. It's the greatest honor ever. And there's a trophy, almost like the amateur and the Masters, the high amateur.
It's like the tournament within the tournament. For a lot of these guys, and for Michael Block, who was
from Mission Viejo
from what was his O'Reilly? No, what's the name of his golf club? I don't know if it's O'Malley's, but he was from Mission Viejo. He's a club pro. He hits a bucket of balls a week. He said he doesn't even play rounds because he's running this thing. He makes $75,000 a year. This guy came in. He's played in a few before, and he said, "Look, my goal is to be the best club pro in this tournament,
whatever that is.
If I could scratch that off my bucket list, then that's what I'm doing.
46 years old, very calm guy, seems like a great dude. Now, we don't know anything about him, and we'll get to that later. But he, on 15, hits in the final day. First of all, he's in the final 4 pairings. Okay,
he's paired up with Rory McIlroy, which got to be a hero to him.
To be paired up with Rory on the final day of a major tournament, the PGA tournament. That to me is like dream of all dreams. Kill him now,
just to make the cut, then to be in the top 20.
And if he were a journalist, then the Live Tour the people supporting it would try and kill him. So
look, all he has to do is finish in the top 15 in order to make it be invited back to the PGA next year.
So he's on the cusp. He's around around there. You're like, he could be invited back to the PGA next year.
On the 15th hole, he hits the greatest golf shot I've seen in a major tournament.
The hole-in-one on the 15th hole is it's one of the...
You could argue that some of Tiger's chips around the green that rolled down the hill and rolled in.
I don't think it beats this.
I don't think it beats
what this guy had to do... To me, Tiger Woods is amazing, and Tiger Woods has it in him to chip those shots, and you're like, you're just a machine. But I'm talking about this guy. To me, it was like Jeremy Lin. It was like Linsanity.
If Jeremy Lin was just a guy who decided, like, I'm going to play in the NBA, and I'm not a professional basketball player.
Jeremy Lin, to me, was great, but he had that 2-week period that was the 10-day period that was insane. This was that. And his shot that he made, that slam dunk hole-in-one, didn't even bounce. The sound the crowd made is a sound I've never heard a golf gallery make
outside of a Waste Management. I think Waste Management.
I think it was bigger than anything on 16 at Waste Management.
I don't know about that.
That would be the best thing if he could have ever done is hit that on 16 at Waste Management. I want this guy playing at Waste Management next year.
They should have him play there.
So he's tied because of some shifting around. He's tied for 15th going on to the final hole. He shanks his first drive. He's out in the rough. Okay, he has
to get a par.
He has to get a par in order to be invited back to the PGA next year. Next shot he hits over the green into the gallery. They got to move gallery members, and he has to hit a crazy flop shot because he has very little green to work with, and it's downhill. He's got to land it in a very small spot on the rough of that green, so it just trickles down. He does it. It's unbelievable, but he's still 10 feet away from the cup. Every single golfer that day, when they putt it, it veered off to the right, and it would drop down, go left to right, and they missed the putt.
Professional golfers who have been stood over putts that are this putt determines your future have missed putts like that.
So much of the game is mental. So much of the game is pressure. Your ability to handle that pressure, move forward. On the plane ride back from Alaska, I watched the John McEnroe documentary. The amount of pressure professional athletes.
How you handle pressure determines whether you will be a memorable professional athlete or just a guy.
So this guy's standing over this putt. It's everything to make it. This is his tournament. He's not even to win the tournament, but to win $300,000, which is more money that he makes.
Like the 3 years of salary.
That's 4 years of salary. 4 years of salary.
$288,000. If you make $75,000 a year, that's
4
years
of salary
in one putt.
In one putt, he's got to do this to make it. And he sinks it. And it was, Jay and I are on the plane heading up to Alaska.
Tears streaming down my face.
Crying as we're watching this on TV.
Pumping my fist in the air. I can't believe how excited I am for this guy.
It was I put that in the same category as the 120th minute Abby Wambach header for the United States to tie that game.
The catharsis, the release. It's like I'm not even, in golf, it's not a team sport. You're not rooting for a team. You just root for great achievement. And when this happened for us to be able to watch this happen.
Because he was everybody. It's like I'm waiting for Kevin Costner to play him in the movie.
Yeah. He's too old.
I guess. But it's like
Chris Pine would probably play him.
He's everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's you and me. He's you and me having our best day ever on the course, playing with the professionals and getting an opportunity and sinking that putt. He's Bill Murray in Caddyshack when he's swinging at the mums and he's like, it's in the hole. He did it.
He
swings it. He takes the thing, he hits it, and he's like, it's in the hole. It's in the hole. That's what happened on that. Literally, Bill Murray is saying it and you're thinking it's a joke.
Right.
And it was a joke. It was hilarious. But what Bill Murray's joke in Caddyshack came true for this guy.
The dream of every kid who dreams of being on the PGA Tour.
Now, is it wrong for me, and this last thing I'll say, for me to not want to know anything else about Michael Block?
Yes.
Don't show me old tweets. Don't tell me he doesn't support he does his own research. I don't want to hear that he hates the vaccine. I don't want to hear that he thinks that kids in school shootings are paid actors. I don't want to hear any of this stuff.
Just let us love this guy. For what he did.
And I'm just as much as I wanted that putt to drop, now I want everything in this guy's life to just be normal. Just be a guy. Just be a guy, and we'll talk about this later with Frank Corrado. Just be a guy.
Just a guy, a jag.
Be a jag. Just a guy, and be a good guy, so that this story about you can then continue on further, and we can just love you. Because to me, it's the best story in all of sports. We talk about so many jokers and idiots who are acting like jerks, but this story to me was like overshadowed and overshadowed Brooks Koepka. And I say to that, good. Because that's the best story that came out of golf in the entire year is this guy right here. Michael Block, congratulations, bro. And please please stay off of Twitter and be nice to everybody around you. We'll take a break. When we come back, Frank Corrado. We're going to talk to him about hockey and talk about the Stanley Cup and the playoffs and just his experience, all that stuff on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. As promised, so excited to have this guy on. He's our new friend. He was basically shown to us, or we were
introduced to
us by Jay Onrait, who is one of our favorite people in all of sports coverage up in Canada, TSN. He's like, this guy played in the NHL. He gets it. He covers hockey for TSN. You have to go through so many hoops just to do that. To be able to cover hockey for TSN in Canada, I don't even know what
that's like covering college football in SEC country.
That's right.
More.
He's like a non-Jewish Paul Feinbaum. Would you please welcome to the show, Frank Corrado? What's up, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
We're great.
Great. So happy to have you here. I mean, we first had you on Jim Rome's show, and they loved you there. That was like, they're
going to use you again, I think.
They'll just be on the lookout. They may reach out back to you because you knew your stuff. You were so much fun, and it was fun to talk about it. When we had you on Rome's show and we guest hosted,
there were 2 Canadian teams that were still in the NHL playoffs.
And then what happened was my greatest fear. That all 4
it's over
warm weather teams, like, is Canada.
No one gives a shit about hockey in Florida, and I know people are going to get mad at me. Oh yeah, we do. The people who care are inside the arena. I defy you to drive around and see how the rest of the country is feeling, or the county is even feeling. Am I right?
Here's some of the conversations I hear up in Canada, right? Because people where I live in Toronto, they only watch Leaf games. It's not like they buy the NHL package and it's 10:30 at night and they're like, let's see what the LA Kings and Anaheim Ducks are up to.
No way.
So they have no idea.
Right.
So they think there's like 6 fans at the arena in Florida.
Yep.
Meanwhile, we have a very corporate building in Toronto full of a lot of suits.
Yeah.
And you're watching a game where the Panthers are playing or the Hurricanes, you're like, it's a madhouse in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen up here. Like, I always explain it to people up here, like, people love the Leafs in Toronto. In America, people are sports fans. If your sports team is good, they are showing up and they are loud.
Right.
So that's an interesting point. So I get that refutation of what I said by saying, you kind of have the same argument for like MLS teams that have come to the United States, to cities that don't really have a lot going on. So you could say the same thing about Columbus as a city. We know they love their sports. We know they love Ohio State and Columbus, but they support the Blue Jackets. They support their MLS team. There is a lot of sports support. So I get that, but I also am like, I look at cities like Toronto and I say, there's so much money up in Toronto. How is there not some Toronto hockey fanatic billionaire who's like, all right, enough of this shit. Or we're going and we're getting Connor McDavid. We're going and we're getting.
I mean, they already have Connor McDavid in Edmonton, and that didn't work.
No, but we're going to get Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid. We're going to build a Canadian super team, and we're going to finally frickin' win this thing. How has that not happened yet?
It's the salary cap. That's the only reason why. Like, when the salary cap came in 04-05, I was just a kid. But like learning things over the years, it's like there were a few teams in the league. Detroit was one of them. Toronto, certainly the New York Rangers. They were like, if I got deep pockets, why do I have to cater to the Columbuses and New Jerseys and Arizonas of the world? Like, they're rich owners as well. They're billionaires. They're all on the Forbes list, right?
Yeah.
But their operating revenue doesn't allow them to spend that kind of money. If Toronto could spend money and bring in all those players, they would. Same with the Rangers, same with the Red Wings.
Sure.
But that's the reality of where we are with the salary cap. And it's different than like baseball and basketball and football. It is a hard cap. There is no wiggle room. You have to basically injure a player's limbs, call Tony Soprano, and have him on the long-term injured reserve list if you want to free up that kind of cap space.
So what it does wind up doing is it allows for much more parity in the league, or teams that, it allows for a team to just make a run deep into. I mean, the Florida Panthers are ranked 8th. They were ranked 8th in the East. It's crazy. I mean, we're seeing the same thing on the NBA side in the Miami Heat, but the Panthers are I feel like they're going to sweep where the Heat couldn't sweep. The Panthers they're
a buzzsaw. They really are a buzzsaw in these playoffs, aren't they?
And so is Vegas,
They
too.
are. And they took a lot of heat when they signed Sergei Bobrovsky to that deal at $10 million a year. A lot of people, myself included, thought, you can't pay a goaltender $10 million, especially when he's hot and cold, man. Like when he's hot, he's really good. But when he's cold, it's like this guy's outrageously bad and he makes a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And at one point this year, I kid you not, at one point this year, there was talk that if the Florida Panthers could find a way to put Sergei Bobrovsky on that long-term injured reserve where they could free up that cap space, wow, what a move that would be for them. And now this guy's going to win the MVP. He's going to win the Conn Smythe and take this team.
Oh, we froze.
Oh, shit.
That's parity right there. Like, things can turn around in an instant for this team, and it did.
I mean, look at the Vegas Golden Knights goaltender. I mean, do we know this guy before 7 games ago? He's 7-1, this dude.
I know, Aiden Hill. It's funny, he was in Arizona, and he was one of those guys that he's called a jag. You know what a jag is? Just a guy.
Just a guy.
Just a guy.
So great. That's so inside hockey.
Just a guy.
He's a jag.
Yeah, he's just a guy. He's a goalie in the league. Could be anyone, right? And now this guy's playing in Vegas, and I guess you could say he's their 4th, maybe 5th, depending on who you want to count in that equation. But that's how deep they are into their depth chart of goalies. And this guy's playing great, and they have a really well-rounded team in front of him, and they're really hard to play against, Vegas.
I mean, the 3 goals they scored last night, I turned it off after those 3 goals. I'm like, and they pulled Ottinger. I was like, it's over. But it's interesting because, you know, you played in the league. You played for the Leafs. You played for Vancouver. Who else did you play? You played for one other team.
Pittsburgh.
So you played in some pretty great franchises and pretty storied franchises. In the league, tell me, like, you say he's a jag, but is this the type of league where, you know, a guy in 2019 who played for our team, Jordan Binnington, kind of comes out of nowhere, and he's
young.
No one's saying he's the best goalie ever, but he just kind of gets on a run. Is it that type of league where, yes, the best players, the Connor McDavids, are just in a league of their own? But everybody else, there's an opportunity for you to get hot, specifically as a goaltender, and you may have the best 20 games of your life right in the postseason. How much is it like everybody's close, and then if you just, sort of get hot?
It's almost like the PGA.
Right.
Like any number of 20 guys can win a tournament if they get hot.
It's a great point. So there's 2 things on that as far as this league goes. Having a complete team seems like it always beats out having 1 or 2 mega stars on a team. And we saw that with the Edmonton Oilers. The 2 best players in the world play on that team. They play on the same line. In basketball, that takes you a long way. That takes you to the finals, probably wins you a championship. Guys are unstoppable. We saw what happens when a well-rounded team, well-coached team, it really, like we always say this in hockey, it's the ultimate team sport. And we got a great example of that this year with the 4 teams that are remaining. Now, one thing I also learned when I was playing hockey, you never realize how close you are. And what I mean by that is when you're younger and you're trying to climb the ranks, you never realize how close you actually are to getting to the NHL. Like you're 1 phone call away from being there, whether you're in junior hockey, college hockey, or the American Hockey League, you heat up at the right time, and that 1 phone call is closer than you think. And then, to your point, when you're playing in the league, you're like, if you're a goaltender and you heat up at the right time, you're 1 hot streak away from being a legend, like a legitimate legend. We saw it with Jordan Binnington in St. Louis, and we're seeing it with Sergei Bobrovsky now. And we've also seen it, like Sergei Bobrovsky has won 2 Vezina trophies. Like that's big time. Like that's huge. Goaltender of the year.
Yeah.
So like when you look at the players that have won 2, the goaltenders that have won 2, that's a list of like the greats, Patrick Waugh, like
Dominic Hasek.
I don't know, Marty Brodeur, like this is where this guy can be, right? But he catches heat at the right time, and you're like, you never realize how close you really are.
I mean, that just is, I love how much of a team sport it is, like what you're describing. And you just tend to feel like hockey guys, and you've been in locker rooms. You've been in locker rooms in 3 franchises. you've seen, like, I think hockey guys are closer than any, baseball guys are tight, but there are people on the baseball team. I think an NFL team is just too big. The defensive guys stay with the defensive guys. The offensive guys stay with the offensive guys.
And then they all have their own, like, I don't think there are huge entourages around hockey players. I could be wrong, but
No, you're right.
So the entourage is the team.
It's more about being like one for all or all for one within the group. And it gets a little ridiculous at times because we all have the same clothing, like we all wear Lululemon and we have the ABC pants and we got, the three little stripes on the collar of the shirt. And, you see us walk into a restaurant, you're like, oh, those guys are hockey players. Oh, how can you tell? Because their jeans are too tight. And they walk like they have like stiff hips. So you can kind of tell where the hockey players are. So and my junior team up in Northern Ontario, we're called the Sudbury Wolves. And the people at the high school, they didn't love us. We were a little arrogant, not going to lie. So they didn't love us. But they used to call us the Wolf Pack. Oh, the Wolf Pack is around because we'd always be rolling in like groups of 5 or more. And we're the pack, man.
It's like, dude, it's like Shoresy. I mean, I'm sure Shoresy is your favorite show. It's like we loved it so much. And my wife, who doesn't really, she's a very loose sports fan, not a big one. She doesn't like fully understand it. She got into the amount of the camaraderie, the team camaraderie shown in the show Shoresy. I'm like, the busting the chops, like the team camaraderie, the fact, to me, that's like everything. And I'm sure you experienced that. And for guys, you got to come up somewhere. You either come up through college hockey, and we talked about this on the show, but the Chicago Blackhawks have maybe one of the greatest hockey players ever.
I mean, there's question. I want to hear your thoughts on Connor Bedard. Is he a, some people are saying generational talent, some people saying we'll see.
Yeah, where do you land?
Well, generational is tough, obviously, because of what comes with that, right? And it seems like now we're getting a generational talent more often than a generation. It's like every couple years now, one's coming up.
Right.
But I will say this, like eye test alone, I've watched this kid play a lot. I've seen him play in person, and he is unbelievable. He really is a special player, and he's a special kid. I got the chance to talk to him before one of the games. So we were with TSN, we were doing a game between him, the Regina Pats was his team, and the Calgary Hitmen, who are named after Bret the Hitman Hart.
Oh, my God.
Because he's one of the original owners of the team.
Hilarious.
And they have the logo with the Hitman on it. It's wicked.
Mm-hmm.
So they're playing this game in Calgary at the Saddle Dome, which seats about 18,000.
That's right.
Normally, for a Hitman home game, they get about 3,500. Connor Bedard sold the damn place out. 18,000 came to see this kid play.
That's right.
And I had a chance to have a conversation with him at the hotel in the morning. And sometimes you talk to kids that are 17 years old that are hockey players. One of a couple things happens. It could be like you're talking to like a sack of potatoes and there's no conversation both ways.
Right.
Or you're talking to some guy that's like kind of dopey.
Right.
This kid was none of the above. He was engaging. He asked questions back. He gave you thoughtful answers. And like totally, like, not that it was unexpected, but he kind of blew me away. Like, I thought that was really cool. And then as far as what he's done, the numbers he put up at the World Junior tournament, which is, for anyone listening, if you don't know what the World Juniors is, it is the biggest hockey tournament for hockey players under the age of 20. And all the greats have played in it. McDavid, Crosby, Patrick Kane, Austin Matt, they've all played in it.
Yep.
He set records.
Wow.
He set records, but he didn't set records as a 19-year-old, which is what the tournament is designed for. He set records as a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old.
Amazing.
Meaning Crosby didn't do it, Nathan McKinnon didn't do it, Connor McDavid didn't do it. Maybe the last person that did this, what he did to that tournament, was Eric Lindros and Wayne Gretzky.
Wow.
So that's, objectively speaking, that's the category this kid rolls in. So when you start talking about can he do it, he's shown us he can. NHL is a different beast, but he's certainly on track to be that generational player. And when your numbers are similar to that of Wayne Gretzky, that's pretty serious stuff.
I want to drill down a little bit more on what specifically makes him great. So when I think Connor McDavid, I'm like, This dude can
size and speed, and
he can skate. So is it that Bedard just gets in the right place at the right time? He gets his shot off quickly, like he knows where to be. Like, what is it about him that has elevated him so much?
The first thing, if you watch him play, is his shot specifically. He's got this way of releasing the puck where if you've ever seen Austin Matthews do it, like it's like this drag thing where he can really change the angle. He does it a little faster with almost a little more velocity. I would say it's like where some people take a shot and it's like quick hands. He does the quick hands movement, but he gets his whole body into it. So he gets so much more power and leverage on it. So quick how it happens. And then his ability to be deceptive. It's not McDavid's speed, but it's deceptive, right? So he can change gears really quickly and throw you off. And I think really for me, like that's skill and ability, but it's up here. Like he's just thinking one or two steps ahead of you, right? And like where you think you got him, it's like, oh, you think you got me, but I'm already over here in my thinking, right? Like he's I don't want to say cerebral. The term cerebral gets thrown around because it's like
he doesn't have the quality.
Intellect.
Right.
This guy's fiery, man.
Yeah.
He is fiery. He will go at you with emotion and physicality as well.
So you watch Draisaitl in the playoffs and what he was doing. Just the spots he got to on the ice. Yes, he's big. Yes, he's got an insane shot, and he just literally can put it through the back of the net. But where he would slip on power plays, and you're like, oh my God, he just has the sense to drop down a little bit further, and he's in the passing lane where it can't be touched, and he's one time he's beaten the goalie. It's that what you're talking about, that just knowing the right place to be. It's so similar to basketball, too. You kind of look at a Steph Curry or
Reggie Miller when he was doing it.
It's like the ball would go inside, and then he's not just standing there being covered. He slides a little bit to a place where he knows he's not going to have a hand in his face, and he shoots it. There's so much of that strategy in hockey.
Yeah.
It's become more apparent now. You're really starting to see strategy on the power plays and see teams execute in that way. Like you said, it's like the ultimate team sport. I mean, how you bring the puck into the zone to set the whole thing up is the beginning of it. It's fascinating to watch hockey in those terms as well. All right, so let's talk about so let's talk about the 4 teams left, but I think it's amazing these series were like 7-game series or going deep, and then finally now you're like, all right, 2 sweeps, and it looks like it's going to be, and we're recording this on a Wednesday, looks like it's going to be Vegas against Florida. What do you see as, if that's the Stanley Cup, sort of make the case for the exciting Stanley Cup that would be?
Okay. So I'll have you know that the 4 overtime extravaganza between Florida and Carolina, I had to work that night. And let me just take you through my night. So I show up to our TSN studios, and I'm with our producer, Paul, who's an awesome guy, and he's such a pro. And he looks at me, he goes, all right, so we're coming up on SportsCenter at 11. He goes, if things go well, we should be able to tape around 10:45, and then you'll be good to go. I'm like, okay, great. And as this game went on, low event game, and we're like, oh man, you know what's coming here, right? And sure enough, 1 overtime. We're like, okay, we've missed our window to tape, but we can go live. We'll go live into the 11 o'clock SportsCenter.
That's right.
All good.
Yeah.
Another overtime and another overtime. We're like, well, we missed our opportunity to go live in that SportsCenter.
Yeah.
That brought us into our pal Jay Onright's show.
Yeah.
The late night.
And Jay Onright's show starts taping at midnight. We're like, okay, we still have an opportunity to do the hits live on Jay's show.
Right.
And we're like, okay,
which will be fun.
This is great.
Right.
And we went all the way through Jay's show. And the whole time we're watching this game, and Paul, my producer, and I are sitting there thinking, what are our storylines? Like, what are we actually going to talk about here? And we're like, okay, we're going to talk about the game-winning goal for sure. Then we're probably going to have to talk about one of the goalies. And I don't know what else, because that's how low event this whole series really has been.
Right.
And it honestly, I know Florida's up 3-0. Carolina has missed a lot of opportunities to score. It could be a coin flip. Anyways, getting back to that night, we went all through Jay's show, and we went all through the 1 a.m. SportsCenter. We didn't start taping our hit until 2:02 a.m. So the 1 a.m. crew, who finished at 2, had to stick around, and we taped it. And then I went back to tape with Jay. So
amazing.
As far as like making the case for how this would be a really fun and exciting series, I would love to sit here and tell you it's going to be high flying like the way the Colorado Avalanche were last year.
Oh my God.
That's just not the reality.
Yeah.
What it's going to be like physical, kind of like strong defensive hockey with some good goaltending. And the team that I guess would stay the most healthy and the team that can stick to that game plan with the most kind of discipline within their structure is probably going to be the team that wins. It's not going to be that high-flying McDavid, McKinnon hockey that we've seen.
Which is a bummer for non-fans.
It's going to be a rock fight.
But I think maybe the storyline is that hockey is the type of – and look, the Heat lost to the Celtics last night when we're taping this, okay? Now people are talking like Celtics go back home. And you listen to Barkley. Barkley was amazing on the TNT, and I'm sure you listen to other guys do what you do in other sports. Barkley's like, Boston's coming home, and they're going to wipe the floor with the Heat. This is what he said. And then you go back to Miami.
Pressure's on.
That is Miami's Game 7. In the Game 6, because if you don't close it out there, you got to go back to the TD Garden and try and finish off a Celtic team that is basically like the 2004 Boston Red Sox. No one gave them a chance. Down 3-0, you come back, and so all the momentum is against you, and the shots start falling when you start to get in the zone. So it is like the momentum builds. The thing that you might be able to make the case for here in the NHL is that the NHL is wide open, meaning if you get into the playoffs, it doesn't matter where you are seated. You have a legit shot. When I think about what the Florida Panthers did to the Boston Bruins this year, the greatest regular season team record of all time, and they just dispatched them. It just shows you how balanced of a sport hockey is, and I think that maybe is the storyline moving forward that people might be able to latch onto.
Here's something crazy to think about. In Game 5, Brad Marchand of the Boston Bruins has a breakaway in the dying seconds of that game. There was about 6 seconds left in that game. Mm-hmm. Sergei Bobrovsky makes a save. If that puck goes in, the Florida Panthers are done, and they're going home, and they lose in the first round. Now they're knocking on the door to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they dismantled the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, at one point in that series against Toronto, people were saying the exact same thing that Barkley said. It was like, hey, Toronto wins one now. This is Florida's Game 7, because if this goes back and Toronto steals it and it goes to Game 7, you've just lost too much confidence, too much mojo.
That's right.
And I get the rationale. But, like, talking about parity and going back to that thing about you never know how close you actually are.
Yep.
That saved them, and now they're going to be playing for the Stanley Cup, most likely.
Well, that is the thing about hockey, too. That
we think back to our Blues against Boston. When the Blues lost Game 6 at home against
St. Louis, we're like, it's over.
We're like, you're going back to Boston.
Back to Boston, and you got to play a Game 7 in that arena? Forget it. And then they turn around and they shut everybody up. It's funny because you got some Blues who are doing some things on, like Barbashev, playing unbelievable hockey. For Barbashev, Pietrangelo played pretty great. You have some great
Blues from that team.
O'Reilly played pretty nicely in the playoffs, like that are sort of smattered out amongst, and they have championship DNA.
I like Barbashev. That was one of the guys like I wanted the Leafs to go after because they needed someone who plays with that kind of energy. Like you watch Barbashev play, he might not be the most skilled player, but he plays at a fast pace and he'll go like flying into the boards on a fork check. He'll come up with a puck and he's provided a lot of offense. So I really like him as a player. Pietrangelo, one of the best defensemen in the league, year after year, just rinse and repeat, super consistent. Ryan O'Reilly was a great fit for the Leafs. The unfortunate part for him was the fact that he hurt his finger before the playoffs. He had surgery, and you know the way he is. He's one of those guys, great face-off guy, great hands in tight in front of the net. You're coming off a broken finger. You need a little more time. It's one thing to come back from an injury. It's another thing to recondition yourself, especially when you've had that injury, and it's tough to jump on a moving train like that. But it's interesting in Blues land right now. I don't know.
Let's hear
if
your
you guys
thoughts.
are catching whispers of your boy Dougie Armstrong, and what's there's a lot of talk about him up here in Toronto with the new GM vacancy.
Wow,
interesting.
That would be interesting.
That'd be a blow to the Blues, and it'd be good for.
He doesn't have an out clause though. He doesn't have any kind of out clause, and people are just saying the Leafs need that type of leadership. So I think it's a compliment to the St. Louis Blues and their organization as far as the leadership that they have in Doug Armstrong. And I think he's highly regarded around the league.
That someone's trying to poach him. All right, we'll say this and then we'll take a quick break. But who wins the Stanley Cup this year as we sit here right now on the precipice of it?
I haven't been giving the Vegas Golden Knights enough credit. I've been counting them out every series. Maybe not round one. I knew they would beat the Jets, but I thought Edmonton would dispose of them, like dummy them. And then I thought Dallas would probably beat them in, 6 or 7.
Right.
I think it's time to give the Vegas Golden Knights their due. They are just way too complete, and it doesn't seem like anything rattles them. It doesn't seem like who is in net for them really matters. They're just a very complete team top to bottom. They're a better team at 5-on-5 than Florida. Florida's goaltending has been outstanding, and they've gotten timely goals, and they deserve to be where they're at. But Vegas is a better built team.
So Vegas has been great for the last several years. Okay, for the last few years, they have made deep playoff runs.
Yeah, right when they came into the league, they were a force.
Yeah, so
that's kind of amazing.
And we talked to you on the show about the Florida Panthers being great last year and being the team. Didn't they win the points trophy?
They won the regular season title for best team, the President's Trophy.
So they are a great team, and a lot of that DNA still exists on that team. So it's not like they don't know how to win, and it's like getting hot at the right time. And you saw the Lakers kind of do it in the NBA this year. If you can make that run and you still have the players that can win and know how to win, you're going to be fine. So I think it's going to be. Do you think it goes 6 or 7 games, or are we going to see just the vet? You do think it's going to be a knockout?
No, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that both NHL series have an opportunity to be a sweep.
Crazy.
And it's the conference finals, and the NBA. We didn't get 2 sweeps, but
almost.
It's crazy.
Almost.
We're almost at the point where we could have got 4 sweeps in basketball and hockey in the conference finals. I can't remember
never
seeing this in my life. But it kind of goes to show you the way the league has set up the standings, right? We used to have it first place 8, 2 place 7, and so on and so forth, right? Now we have this wacky divisional alignment where you have to play teams within your division, regardless of where they finish in the standings 1 through 8, right? Yeah. So we're seeing great series in round 1. Then it's like, okay, it's kind of tailed off now. Right. Really what we should see is now it should be must see. You have to watch these 2 teams play because they're the heavyweights of the league. Yep. But it's like we get that out of the way in round 1, it seems like.
So how would you, if you could fix it, if you're like, this is the way I'd like to see the playoffs moving forward, Frank Corrado gets a chance to just design it, how would you design it?
Exactly like basketball. I'd be going just like basketball. Give us a play in 7 through 10 because the Florida Panthers, they deserve to make the playoffs, and they're a good team. But guess what? There were other teams, like Pittsburgh wasn't very good in the second half, but the Ottawa Senators, they're a team that's knocking on the door.
Yeah.
And they would be one of those teams that's I don't want to play them in the playoffs. Just be they're young and tenacious, and they play with a little,
chip.
A little extra, let's say.
Yeah.
Little chip on the shoulder.
There's some teams that we're seeing now, Florida just sneaks in. And there's a couple other teams that if they had an opportunity, they would be able to make some noise as well.
All right. You heard it. Frank Corrado's with us. We're going to take a quick break, come back, do some quick hits, and then we have a fantastic Patreon video. So Patreon fan, join our Patreon. It's only $5 a month. You get new episodes at cheaper seats and all that stuff. We'll talk about how you can follow Frank if you're in Canada or just follow him on social media on the other side of the break. It's View from the Cheap Seats. Sklar Brothers with Frank Corrado. We'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. We should say to our fans in Minneapolis, we just did shows in Minneapolis. They were amazing at the Acme Comedy Company. We'll come back there in probably March next year.
Yeah.
For those who missed us, but everybody who came out, love you guys. Thank you. And people listening to this podcast, appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Shows were amazing. Then we went to Alaska, which was really cool too. Super fun. So we got lots of shows coming up. If you're in LA, we'll be doing our Tag It show on June 14th in the Belly Room of the Comedy Store, where our friends do stand up and we're off to the side writing pitches and jokes that we then pitch them on stage right afterwards. Super fun. If we're in Toronto, Frank, ever doing shows, you got to come see us. You definitely have
Oh, yeah.
to.
Let me know. I'll be there.
Comedy Bar, we love performing up there. But in July, we'll be in San Francisco at Cobb's Comedy Club. Get your tickets for that. And then in the fall, we're going to be in Ann Arbor, Michigan, the 8th and 9th of September. And then we'll be in Fort Collins at the beginning of October. And then in Springfield. Putting those down, supersklars.com to get all that stuff. And then we'll let you know. Frank, how can people follow you on social media and whatnot and then get your takes on stuff?
All right. On Twitter at Frank Corrado 22 and on Instagram, Frankendeuces. Frank E-N Deuces. Because I don't know why. I was number 22 and
there
some
you
guy
go.
called me Deuces once. So
Nice.
I said, let's make it Frankenstein, but let's make it Frankendeuces.
I love it.
I love it.
There you go. Follow this guy. He's fantastic, as you can tell. Well, let's get into some quick hits, shall we, Jay?
Yes,
all right.
yes.
So if it wasn't bad enough for Ja Morant, you got Charles Barkley now going off on JJ Redick for having the contradictory take on that. JJ Redick.
I heard his take. JJ's take.
What was your sort of?
So JJ was basically saying he didn't break the law. Let's calm down. We aren't dealing with the gun issues in other areas. Why are we zeroing down on this guy?
Because the NBA is a corporation, is what Barkley said. You're being paid a lot of money, and when the people who are the league that provides the space for you to make all that money says, don't show a video of you, like we don't want our guys holding guns up and whatnot, then you got to listen to it, or don't play in the league. Go play in the Big Three league if you really want. If that's what you want to do.
Agreed.
So now we've got, days after Morant was suspended, we've got strippers coming out and talking smack about Ja Morant, saying that he's just
Never good when a stripper.
Right? When the
has your
strippers
name
are
in
like,
her
we're
mouth.
going to start talking about you. It's never good. And they were saying he's acting like a little boy, and he just, to me, that's the moment where you're like, this has gotten out of control. I mean, what do you do if you're Ja Morant? How do you handle this moving forward? Because he screwed up a couple of times, Frank.
I don't know, like say a prayer and like, or maybe like, don't put yourself in those positions anymore. I agree with Barkley, by the way. Like, I know, I get what Redick is saying, right? But you're associated with a league and a name behind that and a brand, and you have to understand there are certain responsibilities that come with that. And I do believe that when you embark upon this journey to play a professional sport, you understand that there's certain responsibilities that come with that. And the fact that your life is going to have to be different than a normal person. You have more exposure, and there's more people looking at you, and there's kids that look up to you and all that kind of stuff. And you kind of know the deal. You know the deal when you sign up, that you're just not another guy. You're looked at in a different light, and he needs to realize that and needs to mature.
Yeah.
Like, dude, when strippers are talking about you being immature, like, hold it down, man. Hold it down.
The stripper said that he was clearly begging for attention. Again, these are not things you want to hear
from a woman on a pole.
At a strip club, don't beg for attention.
Look. I think the point that Barkley's trying to make is, yes, it is not against the law to go get drunk. You can go get drunk if you want to, if you're of age. If you're 21 years old, you can go get drunk.
Go party.
You can't go get drunk like during work hours or even on your corporate watch or even post those videos. Like those types of things, you do work for a company.
It's what Frank said. You have to be smart about the way you go about doing it. You just have to be smart about it. Like you have to understand that part of your life is going to be taken away, especially if you're someone that big. The Connor McDavids of this world you're a different animal. You have all this talent, you have all this stuff, and it's going to make you all the money in the world.
The endorsements up and down the line.
But you have to watch your step.
A little bit more.
Maybe even more than a Frank Corrado. You got to watch your step a little bit more than him.
Yes.
All guys at the NHL have to watch their step, but he's got to watch it a little bit more. Am I right?
He does, and the gold standard for that is Sidney Crosby.
Yep.
He's done an unbelievable job of keeping a low profile on anything. The only thing you see Sid in is whatever his endorsement is, whether it's Gatorade or Tim Hortons or it's a charity. But other than that, no one knows anything about Sid's personal life. He's not on Twitter. He's not on Instagram. He doesn't post anything. He's done an immaculate job of being the best player and the face of the league for the longest time. And no one could tell you a thing about his personal life. And it really is the gold standard.
He should then, if he ever was out of hockey and not doing anything with hockey, he should teach a class and be the guy who teaches these young guys coming in, sit Connor Bedard down and say, hey, bro, this is how you do it. This is how you do it and maintain yourself, because to me, I think that'd be super valuable.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if you're a FIFA fan, but the logo for the FIFA World Cup is out and it sucks. It's
horrible.
Like zero color in it. It feels like there it is. It feels like the placeholder for the thing that they're like, we're going to figure this out, guys, but this is just what...
Just take a picture of the trophy
and stick it behind a white 2.6 because it's going to be in 2026. Come on, Frank. We got to do a better
I don't even know.
I hate it.
I hate it.
Hate it, right? You got to just...
I hate it. And the fact that it looks like a bad Photoshop job. Like,
yes.
It looks like a botched Photoshop for me. Like, it's like someone was in high school and they said, yeah, I'm just going to like grab the trophy, but I'm not going to put any effect on it. I'm just going to slap this baby right on the 26.
Because we'll make the real logo later.
No,
that's what it feels like.
Yes, and it also looks like, when restaurants have pictures of their food out in front of the restaurants,
but it never looks appetizing.
But they take it with like a flash, and it's not like there's not like depth of
fluorescent
field.
lighting.
You're like, bro, it could be good. It could taste good. It's terrible. And my thing, if you go back to the logo, Aaron, can we put the logo back up? They had the balls to trademark that logo.
Yeah.
No one's stealing that.
No one's
TM in the corner.
Don't trademark that garbage.
No one's getting.
Here's another comment on that logo. The 6 looks like it's not the same proportion as the 2 for some reason. Like the 6 looks like it's not getting enough love size-wise.
It's thinner. It's thinner. It's squeezed out. You're like, are you using different fonts in the 2 number? Come on.
2G? I can't tell what that is.
2G.
2G.
Right. Now, finally, I don't know how much if you're following other sports and this is your crazy time right now, but Jokic's brothers are like maybe the greatest. Like, you want these guys everywhere, and I'm so excited that Nikola Jokic is moving on to the NBA Finals because we're going to get more of his brothers. His brothers trolled the hell out of Jack Nicholson as he's leaving the arena. Jack Nicholson, who came out of hibernation.
He's wearing like house slippers.
Yeah,
and like
giant fat mess of a human being.
I'm assuming all of his clothes are made out of bamboo at this point.
Right. And Jokic's brothers, as he's leaving the stadium, are like, see you next year. Bye.
Later.
Jokic's brothers are like the type of guys you call in to like clean up a quote unquote clean up a mess. And they're like, you know what I mean?
Like Ray Donovan?
Yeah.
Worse.
Like
a more violent Ray Donovan.
Like they're all big guys. They're all wearing jerseys that kind of don't really fit them. They're part of, like, you would say, like, are you guys part of the Croatian mafia?
It feels like it.
So
yeah.
Here it is. There he is, waving goodbye. And then his big brother. Watch this. And look at it, he's like mad. And you won. You swept them. And the best part is they don't speak great English, so it's a lot of like, bye-bye. They sound like 3-year-olds trying to taunt people. Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Goodbye to you, sir.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
It was hilarious.
Come again.
It kind of reminds me of, so I played a year of professional hockey in Sweden.
Yeah.
And the league I played in was kind of young. And I was an older guy. Like, I had the grizzled beard going.
Yeah.
And one of the guys chirped me from the bench. The sentiment of his chirp was that, hey, this is not an old folks home or something like that. But it was not like, it wasn't delivered properly. So I was like, I'm lined up there by the face-off, and I kind of look over and I'm like, what are you talking about, man? But then I realized during the play, I'm like, this guy called me old.
He called you old.
Called me old.
Hey, this isn't old home for folks. Come on.
Oh, man.
You're like, easy there, bro.
All
right, there you go.
By the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Jack meme with the thumb in the air
incredible.
it's incredible. And so I just told you guys about that 4 overtime game, right?
Yeah.
And then I was working 2 days later for game 2. Mm-hmm. And that game went to overtime. And one of our producers at TSN tweeted out that picture with the caption, "Preparing for this game to go to overtime."
That's it.
Oh, Jack.
That's it.
Jack, you've become a joke. Jack is like
Joke Nicholson.
Joke Nicholson. There you go.
Joke
Nicholson.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. We're going to be watching the finals. If I could get TSN coverage, I would just watch your coverage of it all the time. Patreon fans, stick around. We have a fantastic video, or join our Patreon just so you can do that. We're going to break it down with Frank Corrado, another martial arts video that is insane. We'll break it down with Frank Corrado. Just so happy that you're with us. And thanks, guys. We'll be right back with another segment. Thank you for doing the show, Frank. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with more View from the Cheap Seats right after this.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show.
Frank Corrado,
just unbelievable. I love his energy. I will follow him to the end of the earth when he talks
great
about
guy,
hockey.
and just it was a good hang. That's what I love. You could tell that he was a great teammate. Right? Like, he's like a guy that, like, people are like, get over here, Corrado.
Get over here, Frankie. He's great. I also want to remind people, join our Patreon. It is a great way to support us, and it's a great way for you to get, it's the only place in the world where new episodes of Cheap Seats, Cheaper Seats.
The Roof Ball episode is insane.
It's
and
epic.
Beth, we've posted some clips online. The woman who was
Beth Willis, who commented on the post.
She was a sideline reporter for Roof Ball.
And then sang the national anthem.
And then participated in Roof Ball. She did everything. She commented on our post. You have to see Roof Ball. Then we have full contact juggling. And then we have a putt-putt tournament from 1987.
With Billy Packer calling.
Billy Packer is calling it.
Adult men.
You need to watch this. It's insane. And so just join our Patreon to do that. I want 1,000 people on our Patreon. I think we can do that.
I think
we definitely can do that through you guys. Just if you're thinking about it, it's a great way to support us. Check it out. Join it. And let's do a voicemail that we got from Nick Cage. If he gets the Vegas Golden, now this may be what I'm rooting for. If the Vegas Golden Knights win, Nick Cage could get the cup.
He deserves the cup for a day.
He and Vince Neil. We'll find out what happens with it. Let's check this out.
Ooh, Jason, Randy, I hope you can tell the excitement in my voice, and I think you can tell that the timbre that I am executing out of my vocal cords right now is excitement, because as you know, the Golden Knights, the Vegas Golden Knights hockey team is getting ever so closer to Lord Stanley's Cup, and if we can bring that sacred cup out of that bullshit country, Canada, and bring it over to the States where it belongs, because we all know that hockey started in America. Don't even look it up to see if that's true or not, because Cage is saying it, so it's true. Here's what I want to suggest, guys. So I heard that whoever wins the Stanley Cup, the team that wins it, they get to pass the cup around, and every player gets to have it for a day. Well, I feel like Nicolas Cage, as the unofficial mayor of the town of Las Vegas, the unofficial mascot for the Golden Knights, I should be getting a day with Lord Stanley's Cup, because it would be the greatest day in that cup's life. We are talking, I would be putting all of my dinosaur bones into the cup just so we could just touch it, so that anytime anyone touches that cup going forward, they also will touch dinosaur bones. And if they touch dinosaur bones, and then someone else touches it, and someone else touches it, and then we're all touching dinosaur bones. And just, I don't know what the ramifications of that is, but it just sounds fucking cool. Secondly, I would put 20 White Claws, mango flavored, into the cup. I would drink it, pour it all over me, and then I would go run outside, roll around in the dirt, and then bring my mud-soaked face right onto the strip, screaming Golden Knights for 4 solid hours. Guys, this is an amazing thing. I need to be able to put my new child into this. I have a new baby. Fuck Kyle, whatever the fuck that guy's doing, I don't care. He's not my youngest kid anymore. I got a new baby, and I want to put that baby in the cup, and I want to take that baby in the cup to a Golden Knights game, bring it to a Las Vegas Aces game, show the women the potential, the reigning WNBA champions, the Las Vegas Aces. Again, Vegas, the city of champions. Get at our level, Raiders. I would bring my baby in the Stanley Cup to an Aces game, parade him around as if he is the Christ himself, because he is the second coming of Cage. You see what I did there? So see what you can do to make this happen. Cage needs the cup. Cage needs the cup in Vegas. Make it happen. Yeah.
I endorse all of that.
Yep.
I endorse all of that. Give him the cup. Give Cage the cup. Put the cup in the cage. Put the cup in the cage.
Give the cup to the cage.
Enjoy the rest of the NBA playoffs as we head towards the NBA finals. Enjoy the rest of the
NHL
playoffs. We'll see you in LA at the Taggart Show at the Comedy Store Belly Room on Wednesday, June 14th. We'll see you in San Francisco at the end of July. Supersklars.com. Check all that stuff out. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Sklar Brothers. And we're out. We'll see you next week.